Yes,
Oh, yes.
yes, yes, yes,
Oh, yes.
yes. We are
Yes.
here. We are live. We are here. Welcome, 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 one and all.
Welcome, one and
It
all.
is Thursday. Once again, we done made it through another week, y'all.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
One
So
more
now
day.
I got
One
all
more
that
day.
going.
One more day.
Yes, one more daggone day. Welcome, welcome, everybody, to Dating University. Wherever you are, thank you, thank you, thank you for tuning in. I'm your co-host, Professor Charles, along with my beautiful co-host.
Professor Brittany.
Yes, indeed. I say we are Dating University, where we talk about the good
All the bad
and the ugly.
of all things dating and relationships.
Absolutely. We'd like to thank each and every one of you for tuning in who listened to last week's episode on our podcast.
Yes.
We appreciate y'all. We love y'all so, so much. Please, please, y'all know the drill. When we start the show, like, comment, share. Y'all know what the deal is. Come hit us up in the comments. We got a really, really good one tonight. We are You know how we like to have fun here. We do. We have a lot of fun when we play.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, we have a lot of fun, but there are times in life where we have to get serious.
Mm-hmm.
And so tonight is one of those nights. If you can see, Charles is frozen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I step in.
Good job. See,
This is why it's important to have a co-host.
partnership.
That is exactly why it's good to have a co-host, because of effective partnership.
Exactly.
And all of the jokes and the funny moments, we do have to get serious. And tonight, in honor of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we are bringing you a very serious topic, and we are coming to bring awareness and hopefully healing during tonight's show. As you can see, we have a very beautiful guest with us tonight. Introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Maritza Gabriel. I have a nonprofit organization. I'm the founder of Enough Cries, and I am a survivor.
Beautiful. Maritza, we're glad to have you here. Thank you for coming on to Dating University, and thank you for your willingness to be open, transparent, and just being yourself. I don't know you that much, but your personality is beautiful. You are beautiful. And tonight I feel is going to be very beautiful. And so you introduce yourself as a survivor. So tell us a little bit more. Let's dive in.
Absolutely. So I am a domestic violence survivor. I was abused for 5 years. I originally came from New York to Virginia. Trying to leave that situation. Well, leaving that situation, and trying to start a new life for myself and my kids.
Beautiful. Okay. So in relocating with your kids, can you give us some insight into the process? Tell us how your emotions were.
Well, I will start with, let me just go back a little back, because I was brought up in a domestic violence home. My father abused my mom as well. Okay. And growing up, that became a norm. Sure. Which is not normal, but because that's what I saw and what I learned, that became a norm for me. It reached a point that my mom, I would never forget, and one night my mom had to grab a knife and sleep with it under the pillow.
Oh, wow.
And she allowed me to sleep with her because that way I was her protector from my dad.
Wow.
At that moment, and I believe I was about 7 years old or 8 years old. And at that moment, I realized, like, this is not normal. Wow. And the more as years came by, I realized that I didn't want to live like my mom. I didn't want to be a duplication of my mom.
Sure.
And surely I ended up in the same situation like my mom.
Sure.
And I didn't know how to get out of it. I dealt with it for 5 years, close to 6, and I just didn't know where to turn to or who to ask for help or who to tell. Everyone saw me just a bubbly personality. I kept it to myself because it's very embarrassing to even share or tell someone this is what I'm going through.
Okay. Yeah. And
being brought up in church, I also did not, my mom was totally against divorce because marriage is very sacred. And you're supposed to be good or bad.
Yeah.
But my mom found herself in a situation that it was either life or death.
Absolutely. Okay.
And she really had a challenge with that.
Sure.
And with me, it was more as to, I came to realize that I was in a situation after I was in it so deep that I got accustomed to a certain lifestyle because he was also a drug dealer.
Sure.
And I got accustomed to the fast money. Even though I never did drugs in my life, I don't even drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything. But you get accustomed to a certain lifestyle.
Yes.
And my kids did not need anything. So to me was, my kids are good.
Sure.
And whatever I was going through, it was between me and him. It didn't have nothing to do with my kids. So I was okay with that.
Yeah.
But at what point in your life do you feel like I deserve better?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had not reached that point in my life when I was with him.
Sure. Now, Maritza, you brought up, witnessing your mom being abused by your father. Can you give us some light on your relationship with your mother now and while you were in that relationship? Did she have any idea what was going on?
In my relationship?
Yes.
No.
Wow.
No. I went through this completely by myself. Not even, my best friend knew about it because she saw firsthand. And I will always tell her to stick her nose out of it, to stay out of it.
Ooh, okay.
Again, because I wasn't ready. Like, I was used to living that way and I was making it normal for me. Even though it wasn't, and even though I was suffering, and even though I was going through a lot of, with the abuse, sexual abuse came along too, because now he's coming in the house under the influence and now he's forcing himself to have sex with you. So now you're sleeping, but then here you have someone on top of you forcing themselves on top of you.
Wow.
And I mean, this is an adult show.
Of course.
When you're
not
sexually aroused, you're not prepared sexually.
Sure.
And it created a lot of skin friction, a lot of infections.
Sure.
Because I didn't know who he was messing around with in the streets. I had to keep getting tested.
Real.
I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful by the mercy of God that I never caught anything. He never gave me anything, but it was just those moments that I dread.
That you dreaded, for sure. Now, did you have kids at this point? Were
3.
they privy to what was going on?
No. So I have a daughter. I have 3. I have a son and 2 daughters. My son, I lived in a project. So in my neighborhood, I had a lot of drug dealers. And my son was probably 11 to 12 years old. And he know that, at times, he wanted to be the man of the house. And a couple of times he will pick up things and try to jump in to protect me. So I had to be like, Jeremiah, go to the room, it's okay. And he'd be like, well, Mom, I'm like, Jeremiah, go in the room.
That's,
So I started noticing like, this is going to get ugly pretty fast because he's getting older and he as a son, he wants to protect his mom, you know? So I noticed that in him. And I was like, this can get really ugly because my two oldest are not his. They were from a previous marriage. So I said, if he hits my son, now I got the father of my son getting involved. This can turn out really bad.
Really bad.
And still, I stayed.
Yeah.
I stayed. I struggled with it for 5 years, close to 6.
Yeah. Were there any moments in which you wanted to leave, or was it your final straw that got you to ultimately think about leaving?
Let me tell you something, Brittany. And this is everyone's response. I know a lot of people say, well, why did you stay?
Yeah.
Sure.
Why you stay? You know, I would be okay getting hit and taking ibuprofen at night and then be okay the next day.
Wow.
This was my challenge. He messed me up mentally.
Yeah.
Mentally, he told me I was worthless. I only had a high school diploma. I had stretch marks from my pregnancies. At that time, my teeth weren't straight. I was a little bucktooth. So what else? I was skinny. I didn't have a job because being that he hustled in the street, I didn't have to work.
Okay. That was my next question. Okay.
So all these things he embedded in my mind, and he took my mind. And that has been my challenge throughout all these years. It's been 23 years I've been in Virginia now.
Really?
In 23 years, I can still say at times, I gotta say, you don't have power over me anymore. I gotta talk to myself because I will go back. Mentally, if I doubt myself, and I'll be like, I can't do that. I can't be that person. I can't be successful. I can't, pretty much it's just like I'm worthless in his eyes. Yeah. I had to learn how to build myself up in order to believe in myself, in order to say, you know what, I am smart. Here in Virginia, I started a new life for myself. I was able to go to school, get an associate's degree, start my organization, put my kids are in the Army.
Wow.
I just moved forward so much because I had to really push myself to be like, you know what? He doesn't have no power over me anymore. I have to do this for myself. Yeah. But still, I kid you not, still, there's moments that he'll get me.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I have to shake it off. I have to shake it out.
Yeah. Maritza, do you ever go home?
I do go to New York. I haven't been there in a very long time. It brings back a lot of triggers.
Yeah.
A lot of triggers. And embarrassments, because there were moments that, because I did love him, and I know as crazy as that sound, I will go search for him at the middle of the night. Really? And there'll be times when, I'll find him with someone else and he'll get mad and he'll drag me down the street through my hair, and I'm kicking and stomping and, telling him to get the F off of me, and, that I'm going to beat her up. And it was just like, it was just, New York to me is a place where it just brings back triggers. And I had to learn that triggers are bad, but at the same time, triggers are good. Because triggers will motivate you to accomplish things that you didn't think you can accomplish.
Wow.
And one of those accomplishments is forgiveness.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Maritza.
That is you talk about a horse pill. That's honestly probably like one of the last things that are on people's minds when it comes.
Sure.
But you have to forgive in order to heal.
Yeah.
And in order for me to leave all that drama behind and all that hatred, because honestly, I would tell people, if I see him in the street and I'm driving a car, I'm running him over.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And I'll reverse that car and go back and put it forward and go forward.
Yeah.
And that was the hatred that I had for him.
Right.
But I had to forgive. I had to really forgive and be like, you know what? He was hindering my life to move forward because that hatred was still there.
Yeah.
And I couldn't move forward.
So, I mean, it's to not harp on it, but you know, and we're getting a couple comments about it. How was that process of forgiveness? Like, you know, people will be like, you know, how could I ever forgive somebody for, you know, beating me and treating me like shit, and you know, and disrespecting me and making me feel less than, and you know, and all that other stuff. Like, how was that process, and like what was the strength that you found to continue to go through that process?
So I do go to church. I come from a very Christian background. My mom was a missionary. My grandfather was a pastor. I have aunties that are evangelists. So I was raised in a Christian environment. I departed from it because I reached an age that I wanted just to do me.
Sure.
And that was another reason why I say that even though my mom was going through things, and I knew that I never wanted to be her because what she tolerated as a Christian woman, I knew that I did not want to do that. I value the church, but at the same time, I was like torn between, should I do it the way the church does it, or should I just do it for survival mode?
Wow.
And I went on survival mode.
Yeah.
That is something.
Yeah.
So I prayed a lot.
Sure.
I prayed a lot. At times, again, as a person, as if whatever you believe in, a higher power, God, whatever you believe in, hold on to that, because you need a peace of mind. You need someone to vent to. And at times I felt alone. I tried to commit suicide, and I was so thankful that, you know, and blessed that I'm still here to tell the story because of the test that I went through. Now I have a testimony.
Ooh.
And I can bless other women and let them know, like, I'm living proof of it. I'm living proof that if I came out of it, you can too.
Wow.
You just have to find your will to get out of it. My will and my purpose was my kids. Because I started thinking, if I'm gone, who's going to watch over my kids? Is this who I want to leave my kids with?
Yes.
Like, you know, these are my babies, you know, I brought them into this world, and it's like that, you know, the unconditional love that I have for my kids is just like that overtook everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned a higher power, and I love that. Have you been to therapy? Is that something that was a part of your healing process?
So I did go to therapy.
Okay.
And don't laugh, guys. I'm more of a person. How can I put it?
No, say it. University, where anything goes.
I'm a person that if you haven't gone through something in life, don't give me an advice. That's just. So if you haven't been through a struggle, you don't know what a struggle is. So how can you advise me in a struggle when you haven't even been through the struggle? Now, don't get me wrong. My pain and your pain may be in different levels, but it's still pain at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter whose pain is greater or not. It's still pain. Yeah. So to me, when I went to therapy and she was speaking to me, I felt like she was reading a book.
Let me go to page 34. I think that you should.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I get it.
And
No,
I was
get
like
it.
sitting
Your whole
there.
life.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was sitting there like, am I gonna leave like different? Am I gonna? I'm paying you my copay
Yeah.
for you to
No,
read a
totally
book
not
to me.
laughing. Yeah.
So I was just
understandable.
like, I didn't go back. I was just like, and I think I even asked her. I says, "Can I ask you a question? Before the session is over, have you ever been abused?" And she said, "No, but and she went back to the reading, and I was like, "No, have you had any form of abuse in your life?" No. So how do you know how I feel?
Yeah. Being trained to give the advice versus actually going through what you're giving the advice for is different. So I understand.
Right. And it took me years. It really took me years to move forward. It took me years. And again, I didn't have any help. I really prayed a lot, and I always prayed as to God, take this hatred out my heart.
That's deep.
Because I didn't trust nobody.
That's deep.
I didn't want nobody to get too close to me. I just thought basically people would just BSers, it's just like, there's no such thing as a friendship. There's no such thing as a good guy. There's no such thing as I just did not trust nobody. I always watched my back, and I was constantly on survival mode. You come to hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you before you hurt me.
The guard was up.
Yeah. The guard, the bricks, the fence, the iron
gate. Everything. Anthony has a really good question. Charles, you want to read it and then we can dive into it?
Yeah, sure. So Anthony's question was, is the forgiveness contingent on letting the person know you forgive them, or is it for you and your spirit?
So I will share how I came about forgiving him. Was I had gone to a woman's service, and after work, it was late. I was going to church late, so I sat in the back because I didn't want to interrupt anybody. I sat in the back, and of course, the service was about forgiveness.
Those will do it. Those services will do it every time.
There's always that one time you go to church and it's all over your street.
I was like sitting there like, it's easy for people to preach about forgiveness, but they haven't been through what I've been through. They haven't been, sexually assaulted. They haven't been dragged down the street. They haven't been punched in their back, constantly getting bruised. So I'm running all this in my head, and I'm just looking, like, because that's my little attitude. I'm like, But then as they kept talking, I just put my head down, and all of a sudden, just something came over me, and I started crying and just crying and crying and crying and crying. And they stopped the preaching, and the lady that was preaching was like, "Who is that?" So one of the ushers got me by the hand and took me to the altar, and they said, I need all the women to come up front. I need you guys to all stretch your arms, and we're gonna pray for her. As they're praying for me, it's just like, that ugly cry.
Oh,
yes. I've been on the altar with an ugly cry. Been there.
I had that ugly cry.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as I'm crying, I'm saying, you know what? If you want me, you break me. You break my heart. You build it over again. And I want to come out a new person. You have to break me. If not, then I'm not coming back. Wow. And that was my attitude. And I left. I went home, driving home crying. I took my shower crying. Yeah. I went to bed crying.
What a relief.
And I'm still telling him, if you want me to forgive, you break my heart. Break my heart and rebuild it.
Wow.
And that night, I tossed and turned the entire night. The entire night, I was tossing and turning. But then at a quick moment, I fell asleep and I saw myself speaking to a group of women. And in the morning, I woke up and I was like, I just had a dream. Like, you know how you had a dream and it's so real?
It's so real.
And I was just like, okay. I'm like, all right, well, that was just a dream. You know, speak to me in another way. Use somebody to talk to me. Because that was just a dream.
Yeah.
So when I went out the house to go into my car, it's like the sky was more blue. The leaves in the trees were more green. So I'm sitting in the car. It's like, I did so much crying. I'm seeing better now. I'm driving to work and I'm like, nope, I need you to talk to me a different way. Like, I don't want you to speak to me through a dream. I get to work and I work with patients. I've been doing my job, dental field, for 23 years. And a patient comes in and she grabs my hand and she's just like, you have a good spirit.
Yes, you do.
So I was like, oh, thank you. You know, I kept on working. And we did the procedure. And as she was leaving, she grabbed my hand again. And she was just like, you're going to be okay. And I was just like, thank you.
Come out again.
Oh man.
And I was just, again, I'm like,
right there.
Nope, I need another sign. Talk to me another way.
Listen, man.
I can't tell you, I'm so stubborn
right there.
But I talk to God like that. I'm
Me
like,
too.
You know, God,
so relatable.
Yes. So I'm driving home again, go to bed that night, and I'm like, what do you want me to do? And then I went to bed, and again, I had the same dream. I was talking to women. So I woke up in the morning, grabbed a paper, and I started writing different titles without even realizing it or what was the reason behind it.
Ooh.
And I put it under my pillow.
Yes.
And I said, tell me what you want me to do. And I woke up, and then in my dream, I had said enough cries. And I got up real quick, grabbed the paper and looked at it just to see if that was in my list that I had written. And it was. And I was like,
wow.
I was like, okay. The next day, I woke up, called his sister, and I told her, I said, hey, do you got your brother's number? And she was like, yeah, why are you calling him? Is the baby okay? Because at that time, my daughter was probably in middle school. And I was like, yeah, I just want to talk to him. So she gave me the number. I called. And as soon as he picked up the phone, he said, I've been waiting for you to call me. And I said, I'm calling you to just tell you that I forgive you. I forgive you for everything you put me through. I said, then you can't have no more power over me. And he was like, I've been wanting to say sorry, but I never knew how to pick up the phone and call you. And my sister wouldn't give me your number. So I was just like, I said, I don't really, I don't care to have a relationship with you, but I just want to let you know that I forgive you.
Wow.
And that was the moment where I felt like it just left.
Because you know how many people don't get that?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't get to tell, their abuser that you don't have that power over me anymore. You don't have the control over me. You don't rent out any space in my brain at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people don't get that. How freeing was that?
That was, like I said, that was just the moment that everything was just like, I was able to like inhale and exhale and just like breathe. Like all these years that I was trying to move forward, and it's just like at that moment is when I was like, oh, like it's just that load off my back, that load that you just don't have that power over me anymore. I wasn't going to allow it anymore. But it took a long time. It took a very long time. And like I said, my biggest challenge was the mental abuse. And a lot of people think of domestic violence as physical.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's the damaging part to me was the mental, the emotional part of it. It really, really, that was my biggest struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. And you bring up a really pertinent topic that I think we need to discuss. What are some misconceptions that people have about domestic violence that you want to educate the people on? Like you said, it's not just physical. You endured emotional. When you see movies that include scenes of domestic violence, or you see some reality TV that portrays domestic violence, are there some parts that you're like, that's not realistic, that's not how it goes?
Do you remember back in the days the movie with Jennifer Lopez? I forgot what the name was.
Enough.
Enough.
Oh wow, I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Wow, that's ironic.
Yes.
But that movie, it, as crazy as it may seem, he would actually, if he knew if I left the house, because he would leave things a certain way. So because I didn't have a job, he knew that if he didn't give me money, I couldn't leave, and I didn't have a car. But I would take the bus. I would grab the kids and go on the bus. And even if I said I didn't do anything, he knew I did something. He would know what we ate during the day, because he had like everything was at its place. So he knew that if I made peanut butter and jelly, because of the way I put it back in the cabinet, he knew that we had peanut butter and jelly.
Whoa.
So that movie, I mean, is somewhat realistic in some occasions with women. It's that control. That's another form of abuse. Financial control.
Right.
And a lot of people don't see it as being an abuse. You get an allowance, you know, and they let you spend that allowance, and you can't spend more than that, you know, that amount. The mental control, the emotional control, verbal abuse. That's another big one, because you can tell your partner, you know, you can tell them, oh, you know, that was stupid. Why would you even say that? Like, you start believing, like, okay, you know, to me, it makes sense. Just because it doesn't make sense to you doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. It makes ample sense to me.
Wow.
So we have to, you know, be mindful of the words that we use with our partner, because it can be very hurting. And she may not tell you. Like, I'm very verbal. If you hurt my feelings, I'm like, you know, what you said me hurt my feelings. You know, can we sit down and talk? But there's some people that don't have that capability of communication like that. You know, they'll keep it within, and you're just adding to her trauma without even realizing you're adding to the trauma.
Yeah, I've been looking at some stories online in the past couple of days, and there was one instance, Ashanti's sister, I don't know her name, poor thing, but she shared pictures of the physical abuse that she had endured, and even shared a video. There was another woman, I believe, she had shared about her domestic violence experience, and I believe the man murdered her. Can you speak to your emotions as you share? Was there ever an element of fear of retaliation when talking about your story?
No, I think with me, I thought a lot about my kids. There were moments that I would look at him and I wish I can hurt him as much as he hurt me. But at the same time, it's just like, I thought I got into this, you know, I chose to get in this, you know, I didn't know it was going to be like the way it was, but, it was my kids, And I get emotional about it because
No, sure.
Okay. Yeah.
they're the ones that kept me alive. My love for them kept me going. And you know, I have 3 kids and now I have 5 grandkids. And it's like I sit back and just look and be like, God, it's such a blessing for me to be here and have these little bodies running around and calling me grandma. And it's just like, what if I would have defended myself? Would I be serving time? What if I didn't leave on time? Would I still be here to see this?
Wow.
So yeah, it's hard. I know I still got a lot of growing to do, as far as completely being over it, but I don't think I'm ever going to be complete. This is a trauma that I've been through in my life, and it's my story.
Yeah. Maritza, can I ask, how was the day that you actually left and what that looked like? Because again, I've only seen this in movies, and what I see is, you know, the woman just grabbing stuff out of the closet, putting it in a little backpack, and just running out the door and just getting in the car and driving off. Was it like that, or was it just
I lived in the projects and I was on a second level. So I had called a cousin up that lived in Quantico, and I called her up and I was like, listen, I'm going through this and I need your help. I said, but do not tell my mom. Do not tell my brother. I was like, can we come down? And she didn't even hesitate to say, let me talk to my husband. No, she was like, girl, come get in the car and come now. And I talked to the kids, like I says, we're gonna make a road trip. You know, you grab 3 toys or 4 toys that, you know, the best toys that you want and you want to bring along on the road trip, and we're leaving. I left everything. I came to Virginia with 1 paycheck.
Wow.
1 paycheck and 0 in my bank account. Just that 1 paycheck. That day I went to my job and I told them that I will not be returning, that I just need my paycheck. I went to the check cashing place because I didn't have a bank account. And I was working part-time at the hospital when HIV came out. Mm-hmm. So I had just started working a part-time job and I didn't have any money. I didn't have money in my bank account. So I went to the check cashing place, cashed my check, got a U-Haul, parked it behind the projects, and in a black trash bag, I shoved our clothes in there and threw it out the window in the back and hoped that nobody grabbed the bags. So at the middle of the night, I grabbed the kids, put them in the U-Haul, and grabbed their toys, maybe 2 TVs, I think, and we left.
No note, no nothing. You just vanished.
Left.
And this was in the span
and nobody
of
knew what happened to me, because in the projects, you know, it's a lot of people.
I was about to say, it's a lot of people.
All of a sudden, I just did not, like, when MySpace started, because at that time there was MySpace.
Yeah.
People were like, where'd you disappear to? Where are you living at? And I wouldn't say.
Smart. Very
Up
smart.
to this day, if somebody finds me on Facebook, they're like, girl, you disappeared like years ago. Where'd you go to? I said, oh, I live in Virginia.
Like away.
Yeah. And they're like, well, you was here one day and disappeared. But then when they see that I have an organization, they're like, you were going through that and we didn't even know? And I was like, no.
Right.
But it's okay.
Now, does he know that you have this organization, and do you know his take on it?
I don't know his take on it, but I do know his family follows me. His sister follows me.
Wow.
Really?
Yes, his sister follows me. His cousins follow me.
Really?
And I wouldn't say they're supportive, but they know what he put me through. And I told them I'm going to be the voice of every woman that's going through this if they can't speak on it. Because I've lost friends to domestic violence. And I want to make a... Go ahead, Charles.
That has to be hard. I mean, like, if it was me who did that, and I knew that my family knows that my ex that I abused is now an advocate for it, like, I would really, really feel like crap. And I'm just wondering, like, how does his family treat him? Like, I knew if it was anybody in my family, boy, you getting shunned. Like, I mean, you went jazz with first, but then you're gonna get shunned.
Yeah.
Wild.
He has. I never wished anything bad towards him, because I'm a strong believer. What you do, you're gonna get it back. That's one thing. So when I made that call, I wished him the best. You don't need to reach out to me. My youngest daughter is by him. He doesn't have a relationship with his daughter, not because of me, but that was a choice she made.
Wow.
So he doesn't even know that my daughter has 2 kids.
Wow.
So to me, it's like he's suffering already, that I don't have to do anything. Just knowing that your child became a successful person, to know that your child gave you 2 grandkids. It's like, I know he's standing in the back burner because I send the pictures to his sister of this is your niece, this is your, just and his mom. I'll send her pictures of her grandkids. So, and he's still in the street. He's been homeless. He's been back at home. So, I know because I talked to his sister, but like, to me, it's like, I wish him the best. I wish him the best.
Wow. I mean, I'm learning so much this evening just through your story and just you giving us insight into domestic violence. What are some questions or some terminology, language that is offensive or that we should not ask, so that, in the event moving forward, there are people that are listening and watching that can know this may not be the best question to ask someone that has gone through that?
One of the worst questions you can ask someone is, why do you stay? Why not? Why not stay?
I mean, yeah.
If you're being financially taken care of, if you feel like you're not going to be able to do it on your own, if you feel like, where am I going to go? It's not easy to just pick up and go. Even in a regular relationship, if you love somebody, you really don't want to leave.
Right.
And I know, as crazy as it sounds, it's like, but he's abusing you. He's doing this. He's doing the third. Yeah, but you know what? When he's not, he's a good guy.
Yeah, that juxtaposition is, that's mind-boggling, and I know it's mind-boggling for people outside of that type of relationship. But I even know it's even more, bipolar, being in it. Like, you don't know what mood this person is going to be in when they come home. So you live, like you were saying, in that state of just anxiety and fear, and you don't, you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and you're nervous, you're doing everything you can to kind of like,
keep the peace.
Exactly. Like, okay, he or she is having a, all right day. You make sure I do this right, and that is in no way to live. That's existing. That's not even living. That's just
right, existing.
Wow.
But you'll be amazed, like, a lot of people, even in regular normal relationships, are existing.
Yeah. Because
they don't have that communication with their partner, and without realizing they are being mentally and verbally abused.
Y'all don't want to hear that. Y'all don't want to hear that.
What signs do people like really start to look for, listen for, if they feel like, oh, they just be playing, oh, he played, she plays a little too rough, or what I'm saying, or oh, that's how we talk to each other, and like,
oh my goodness, I hear that a lot.
Yeah,
that's how we talk to each other. I'm a strong believer in respect. There's a thin line between joking around and respecting. You can be playing around, but when it reaches to the point that you feel disrespected, game over. Game over. And it's okay to demand respect. It's okay for you to demand, don't talk to me that way. It goes back to, don't talk to me that way. It makes me feel this way. Or your actions made me feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
If it keeps continuing after you speak, say this is how it made me feel, that's a problem. That's truly a problem.
That's a problem.
And I also wanted to add, which I'm not sure if anybody will ask the question, but when you're in an abusive relationship, you tend to do a protective order. Just make it clear, a protective order does not really protect you.
Ooh.
That's what it is. It's a protective order. It's an order. So in other words, you file a motion. After you file a motion with your local precinct and the magistrate, whoever takes your motion, you have 15 days to receive a court order for an order of protection. Now, with an order of protection does not mean that your abuser cannot come to your house and still abuse you. The only thing is that if your abuser comes and your abuser is coming, you call that 911, they get there when your abuser is there, he will get arrested. That doesn't say that if he comes, hurts you, and then leaves, by the time the officers get there, if he's not there, there's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
Wow.
That tied into my question. What is your take on the legal system in terms of domestic violence? Do you think
it needs to be worked on?
Okay.
Yeah.
Bottom line. I also volunteer at the police station.
Really?
I'm a 911 caller. So I receive 911 calls. I do. I'm present if there's a rape victim. I'm present at the hospital for the forensic examination. So I work really close with the Prince William County police. And I tell them all the time, and they'll ask me, like, what can we do to better this? And they personally can't, because it's a process. It has to be a law. But I'm having an event on Saturday, and I'm going to have an officer speaking there that lost his partner to a 911 domestic call, because the woman that called for help, by the time the officers reached her house, he had shot her. When the officers got to the house, they demanded to see her, but the husband was saying she left for a walk. So the officer did not want to leave the premises, because he was like, she's the one that placed a 911 call. Right. I need to physically see her.
Right.
The husband refused to. As he's standing at the door with the husband, his partner comes out the car. And as soon as his partner came out the car, the husband opened fire and shot his partner and shot the officer in the leg. But the officer, that his partner was a female and got shot instantly, got killed. When they finally got in the house, the woman that placed the 911 call was already deceased.
Okay.
That is hard.
And that was an order of protection.
It's painful to hear. Like, I'm going to be honest. This is very painful to hear.
And this is not just one case. These are several cases. If you look it up, well, I'm in Virginia. There was another one just a few months ago. I follow them on Facebook. They seem like the happy marriage. They were always together, laughing on selfies. He shot her. She left 4 kids behind, and then he shot himself. No one had a clue. But this is what people on social media, you see everybody so happy and you don't know what goes on in closed doors.
You know.
But again, she had filed a motion and she was waiting for 15 days to get her court date, still living with him because she didn't have nowhere to go. She didn't get to court or have the order of protection.
So is there a difference? Now I've heard this term before, but I'm not well versed on it. Ex parte. Is that something that's in conjunction with a protection order, or is it something completely different?
Completely different.
Okay.
So with domestic violence, you always have to file a motion. A motion is just basically explaining to why. Basically, okay, he hits me and I don't feel safe. Your magistrate has to feel that you are in danger, because it can be just an argument that day and you guys make up.
And I'm sure that happens.
Absolutely. Yes.
But wow.
So at one point,
So many
what point
questions.
do you feel that this is a serious case and it's a matter of life and death, or is it just an argument that they're having and it just got out of hand and out of control?
Yeah.
So that's it's the officer has to determine that.
Okay. So can you speak to, how do you feel about the hotlines? Are they effective?
The hotlines are very effective. The hotlines, they're 24/7. There is somebody that will always speak to you and you can explain to them. They will send an officer out to help you. Remove him if you're pressing charges. Or they'll remove him out of the house for that night for him to cool off. But a hotline will also continue. You can continue to speak to the hotline as far as information, where you can go for a women's shelter. They have women's shelters that take you with children. And also, there's a lot of safe homes, even in your neighborhood, that you may not even be aware of.
Oh, wow. So do you recommend for them to call the hotline before the police?
No.
Okay.
I would strongly recommend you to call 911 first. And the reason why is because now, in the days that we're living, everybody owns a gun. And it's your life in a second.
Yeah.
So even if it's an argument and he gets, a lot of people at that stage get angry and get blank out, a gun is the easiest trigger.
Got it.
So he'll do damage to you. And then once he does damage to you, he knows he's going to get locked up. He's going to get charges. So the next thing is to just kill himself. Now you have two deceased people, and who's to say children in the house?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I know.
So,
go ahead, Charles.
Hypothetical. You have full control over the legal system, the judicial system, law enforcement, all of that. How would you change how the response is for calls of domestic violence?
That's a good question. I personally would remove the woman and the children out the household and take them to safety. And reason why I say that is because you leaving the man there and just removing him for a night, he knows where to come back to. That's his home. So by removing her and her children to a safe house and providing her with the information and letting her know, like, we are here to help you. We can move forward. And a lot of women don't realize you don't have to go to a safe house in your neighborhood. You can actually go to a safe house and start brand new at a different state. And if worse comes to worse, you can even change your identity.
That would be great.
So
that would
it's
be
really
amazing.
a decision you have to make. It will be a process, but it's a choice you have to make. And it's a process that can be done, and it has been done.
Wow. Yeah, I would love to see. I would love to see more. I don't want to say proactive, because of course it's not a proactive thing, but I would like to see more of a definitive response and reaction from law enforcement if someone is making a call for domestic violence being put upon
I would
them.
too.
Like, I would love to see like a stronger police presence, you know,
a stronger police presence. Seriously.
You already know where I'm going, Britt.
I'm already there, Charles.
So, I would love to see something like that. I would love to see a lot more judges, doctors, who are, you know, just available and emotionally. I know you have to be, you know, kind of detached a little bit in those professions, but, you know, to have someone specifically, like maybe you have like a domestic violence judge, you know, something like that. The way you know, you're not just getting carte blanche.
Well, there are lawyers for domestic violence.
Great. That's great.
So, they will be able to represent you in court.
That's good.
That's strictly what they do for domestic violence, and they help you out as far as custody of children, the finances. So there is some things that are in place, but at the same time, as far as the police officers, I think they're, and I agree with you, Charles, there can be something done differently in the system to help a little more.
Yeah.
What do you feel? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brittany. Go ahead.
No, I just have so many questions. Like, bing, 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 bing.
I do. Like they're coming. They're coming at me. Like,
you know, it takes a village. You know, and I was thinking about how you didn't tell your own mother, and you told your friend to butt out. What advice? Because that would hurt me deeply. Because if you're somebody who I care about, I want to see you happy. I want to see you healthy and thriving. What advice can you give to those that may not be going through the actual domestic violence, but they are going through it with you? Like, what can you say to friends that may know that you're going through this, and family? What should they do? What should they not do?
I would tell the victim, as you know, the survivor, the victim, to speak out. As family members and friends, just be understanding. Just because she hasn't made a final decision to leave does not mean that she won't make a final decision to leave. Ooh. She has to reach that epiphany moment. She has to reach that moment that she says enough is enough. Because if she does it for family and friends, she'll go back.
Wow. I didn't even think of that.
She will go back because she's doing it to get your approval, to satisfy you. So she'll stay away temporary. Sorry about that. She will go back. So you have to just listen. Listen to her. If she wants to talk, listen. Don't pass judgment. Just listen. If she asks you, what do you think? Be careful with your words, because you don't want to choose words that may also be bringing her down, her spirits even worse.
Okay.
So you can use the word as, I believe in you. I know you can do this. You know, just be her co-signer. Like, I'm here for you. I will always be here for you if you need me. Let me know how I can help you. Don't tell her how you can help her. Ask her, how can I help you?
Gotcha. So don't call the police. Don't call the hotline on her behalf. Like, hey,
No.
I'm just calling on my friend's behalf. Okay, that's the
Because
worst thing.
that's the worst you can do, because then she can shut down and she won't tell you nothing else.
Got it. Listeners, viewers, I hope you're watching this. I hope you're taking notes, and I hope you're listening, because it's to help her and me and probably others out there that want to step in and solve the problem and come to the rescue.
Mhm.
But sometimes that could be more damaging than allowing the person just a space to vent.
Exactly.
Got it. I'm learning.
And when she's ready, she'll be ready. And when she's ready, she won't go back. Because she's ready to make that change and take whatever it is that comes with that change. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I cried. If I cried a lot being in that relationship, I cried even more when I was out of it, because I was learning how to provide for my kids.
Right.
And I was no longer able to give them the lifestyle that they had. So for them to eat, I drank a lot of water. And when they were done with dinner, whatever didn't finish in their plate, that was my dinner. So I made sure that they ate, but whatever they didn't finish, that was my meal. And I got on social services because I was, my cousin was like, you got to do something. And I'm like, I'm not getting on social services. But I got on social services for 6 months. But I told myself, you're going to be on this for 6 months. You're going to get a full-time job. You're going to do this. I gave myself deadlines. And as soon as I would never forget this moment, because I was getting food stamps, Medicaid, help for housing. I was getting the works. I qualified for everything. And in 6 months, from a part-time job, I went to a full-time job. I learned my job plus other people's jobs, an insurance coordinator and coding. So I got cross-trained. So with that, I went to the personnel office and I was like, hey, I'm not just a dental assistant anymore. I'm also an insurance coordinator. Do you think you can give me more money? And they were like, well, let's see how well you do in the next 3 months. I took those 3 months and I rocked it. I taught myself on YouTube I didn't even go to school. I taught myself how to do medical coding. I memorized the codes. I did my job plus my supervisor's job. When she was going on vacation, I was doing the payrolls.
That's a lot of codes, man. Because I deal with them too. That's a lot of codes.
I went to social services, and I would never forget. I walked in. I was like, "Hey, I just wanted to, who can I speak to let them know that I no longer need your services?" And they were like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, I don't need the help anymore. I'm working full time. I'm making decent money. Somebody else can take the help." My social worker came out, and the girl in the front, she was just like, "Can you repeat that to your social worker?" And I was like, "I don't need the help anymore. Thanks for the help. I'm working. I'm doing well. Somebody else can use the help." She was like, "No one has come into the office to say they don't want no government help."
I have never heard anyone say that. Like, "Oh, thanks. Somebody else can use the help."
Thank you. And she was just like, "When did you start working full time?" I said, "Oh, I started working full time last month, and I have, 2 full-time checks." And she says, "You know what, Miss Gabriel, we're going to continue your benefits for another 2 months."
Look at God.
And that's how I was able to move into a townhouse, get it furnished from top to bottom. And I tricked my children to thinking that we were going to visit someone. And I had their pictures up in the house. And when they walked in, they were like, "Why do they got our pictures here?" And I was like, "This is our home."
What a feeling. What a feeling.
So
what a feeling.
It can be done. But again, it's when you reach that point that you have had enough and take everything that comes along with it.
Oh my gosh.
Because the struggle to getting to point A to point B is beyond words. Like, I sometimes look back, like I don't see myself, people like, you're doing this, you're doing that. Yeah, I do a lot for the community. And I love doing things for people. I love giving. I love, just being someone supportive and your biggest cheerleader. But when I look back where I came from is when I see, wow, Maritza, you really did it. And if you did it, everyone else can do it. And that's what I try to put out there. Like, if I'm your living proof, if I did it, you can do it too.
Oh my gosh. You are so motivational. Can you tell us more about your organization? Because, man.
So my organization is called Enough Cries. I provide resources for the women, as far as shelter, food banks, where to get, used furniture to help them get started in a new home. What else?
What else? Maritza, oh my gosh.
That's
phenomenal.
The only thing I do
that's enough right there.
Find your home.
Right, you are literally
more than enough, actually.
Right.
I'm trying to link up with somebody that does real estate so I can at least help them find a home, a reasonable home according to their income.
Well, daters, y'all know what to do. If you know somebody
yes,
hit us up in the inbox, hit us up in the comments. We will pass the information along because we are here to help one another.
Yes. Maritza, do you have a website? Do you have brochures? Do you have?
My website is enoughcries.org.
We would love to share it.
Thank you.
After we broadcast the show. So tomorrow morning, look for that link.
And then they can also every at least every other day on Instagram, Enough Cries, I always try to put a motivational quote for someone, of something that, if the way I'm feeling for that day, or inspiring somebody. I think part of the healing process for me is being able to speak out. I also mentor girls at the Boys and Girls Club. That's another way you can heal. Because I think it's really important for our young people to learn how to love themselves first. And I think that's what I was lacking.
Ooh.
To love myself enough to be like, I'm not deserving of being happy. I'm not deserving of having good things in life. I'm not deserving of, accomplishing things. But when you learn to love yourself and value yourself, it's really not a lot that you would tolerate. And I think we need to teach our young girls that first before they find love in the wrong place and settle because they think it's love.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. I want to talk about something taboo because you know me. I gotta go there. There are men out here who are in domestic violent situations.
My brother was one.
Let's talk about that for a second. And why is it so taboo? Are there resources for men as it is for women?
Good.
And is there a difference? I know that was 3 questions, but
all great questions, Charles. Seriously.
No, there is no difference. I think if it's hard for a woman that's been abused to talk about it, it's even harder for a man because he's a man.
Yeah.
I will say that my brother was abused verbally and emotionally. And he's now in a better place. He remarried and, he's moved on with his life. But the same help that's out there for women is out there for men as well. I think with men it's a little easier because they can pack and leave. And a woman, you're packing and then taking a tail behind you, 3 kids or 2 kids or whatever. But it's the same services that you get for a woman is for a man too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, like you said, because men are men. We feel like, oh, we can handle it, or if I go tell, then I look weak, or like,
Right.
or
And a lot of men
it gets
stay.
out that I'm weak, that my woman is beating on me, or she talking to me crazy,
Yeah.
and so it's like, yeah, we kind of internalize,
And
that.
I think a lot of men stay also because they don't want to leave their children behind, because now they got to go in the system, and they're only limited to certain days of seeing their children, opposed to seeing them every morning and every night.
Yeah.
And a lot of men will stay and be like, you know what, I don't want to leave my kids and raise them in a broken home. And they don't want to be put in the system, because the minute they leave, that woman's going to be very spiteful.
Yes.
She's going to go behind him for child support.
Yes.
And like I said, the days that you see your kids are going to be through the system. You get them every other weekend, or you'll get them every weekend or certain days. And they'd rather just deal with the situation than to be in the opposite side of it. But yeah, it's the same. It applies the same structure, the same paperwork. It's for men too.
Okay, that's really good to know. So, fellas, if you are in a situation where you don't feel safe, and you don't want to resort to the same type of treatment that you are getting, please seek help. Ladies, if you are in a situation like these, please, 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 for us, for yourself, for your kids, for your family, please seek help. Like, we would rather sit and listen to you talk for 6 hours than carrying you in a box.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We would rather do that. So this is we went over a little time, but this is such an important topic, and I think we'll have you again at the end of the month.
Yes.
Because I know you have something going on. So this is the part of the show where we give our guests the spotlight, and tell the people exactly who you are, what you got going on, any events, and so forth. So all on you.
So I am, like I explained, I'm the co-founder of, I'm the founder of Enough Prize. And thanks to Charles, he has encouraged me to start my podcast.
Yes!
So I will be starting my first podcast next week. And I will be introducing Enough Cries and all the topics that we will be touching on the podcast.
Yes.
I also volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club, and that's a great way to give back in your community as far as volunteer, being a mentor. Yes. By all means, our youth needs it. And I am currently writing a book that's called My Silent Scars.
Wow.
And yeah, hopefully in 6 months it'll be done.
Yay!
And you have an event coming up, correct?
And I do have an event. I've always done public speaking for other events, and this is my actual first event. So it's this Saturday. I'm super excited.
Give us the deets.
Yeah, I'm gonna
give us the deets. We need
So it's Saturday at the Hilton Garden Inn in Woodbridge between 12 and 4. I will be live, so you guys can join me live. If I know you guys are pretty far in Baltimore, but hey, if you want to make a trip, you're welcome to. So yeah, we're gonna have great speakers, great entertainment. One of the speakers is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu master. Ooh. And he'll be showing us how to defend yourself if you're being attacked from the backside, and how to defend yourself if you're being attacked from the front.
Nice.
So yeah, I have great speakers. I'm really happy for the speakers that are going to be present at the event.
Okay, great.
What is my contact information? So I can be reached at enoughcries@gmail.com. That's my email. Or you can follow me on social media and message me. I always respond. I've had conversations at the middle of the night. My phone will go off and somebody needs to talk or just vent. I will listen. I will be that listening ear. So you can reach out to me at any time through social media, through emails. I will listen.
Yes. And can we model these shirts? Because Maritza,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
loving my shirt. I'm
Oh
loving
yes.
Charles' shirt. So can you make me big so I can model my
I got you.
fitness?
Oh, I got
Thank you.
you.
Maritza, thank you
So
for my
these shirts, I will say, when COVID hit, I lost hours at work. And I started just making t-shirts for my organization.
Real men don't hit women. Read it.
So the proceeds of these t-shirts do go helping other organizations and helps the homeless people in my community. So I will buy them blankets, socks, jackets.
So
Charles got the
I know
going. He got the fist.
He working out. Okay, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So the proceeds of the shirts do go to my community for the homeless people.
Beautiful.
That's beautiful. Well, Maritza, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for kicking off Domestic Violence Awareness Month here with us. We are going to do as much as we can to get out any more information. So please send us any flyers of hotlines or whatever that you have. That way we can post throughout the month and we can get the word out and we can hopefully help someone get out of a bad situation. We gotta get up out of here. It's 8:50 girl.
It is.
But yes, thank you again. Thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you to all of our
thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, Maritza, thank you so much for coming again.
Yes, and we
think you're so freaking pretty. So
yes, and we will have you back at the end of the month. Yeah, we'll have you back at the end of the month, so you can tell us a little bit more about your event that you're going to have this Saturday, and we can go with some numbers and really drive the message home. Yeah. So if that's okay with you, we would love to have you back towards the end of the month.
Yeah, and can you provide the link for this weekend? Because I know there are a few people that I really want to share this event with that will be able to join virtually, and that would be great. So
that will be, you can virtually see it through my Facebook account, Maritza Gabriel.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I believe, Charles, you have me on your page, so you're more than welcome to share it, and I'll go live and they can join me through that.
I have quite a few people I want to share that with.
Yeah, and again, if anybody has questions, if I'm here to listen.
Yeah.
I'm really here to listen. And I think that's the most important. If I'm going to leave with a message, just listen. Yeah. Don't criticize anyone. Just be a listening ear.
And I receive that because it's the nurturer in me, it's the protector in me that wants to react, respond, help, hands on. But I need to sit on my hands and zip my lips and open up my ears and open up my mind and my heart.
Absolutely. That was a great way to put it, Brittany.
Fantastic, Brittany. And on that note, we're going to get up out of here. We love y'all so much.
Good night.
Marissa, we love you at Dating University. Come back anytime outside of this month. If you want to come back, come on. We love having you comment and engage with us on some of the other shows. So definitely be a guest host. Come on.
I'll have you in my show.
We love being guests.
Listen,
congratulations.
I ain't got it done. All I gotta do is show up. Oh yeah, I'm there.
There you go.
Congratulations. We're so happy for you.
Thank you.
Podcast is love.
I can't wait. Even though I've been in the process of, helping you birth your new baby.
That's right, you have. Thank you. Thank you for believing in me.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. We up out of here. We catch y'all next Thursday. I don't know what topic.
Well, here's the thing. I need.
Oh, here we go. Hold on. Let me put it in there.
My husband and I will be celebrating 2 years of wedded bliss on October the 12th. So I will be in the middle of the ocean next week on a Thursday. So I need anyone, Anthony, who thinks he's a co-host anyways. I'm calling you out, sir. I need you, if you so choose to accept, to step in for me on Thursday to be a guest host. If not Anthony, anybody can come on and talk about whatever your heart desires. But just know it's temporary because I'll be back. Okay? It's not permanent. Okay?
Right. I can't
She's
bump off
funny.
we literally got papers on each other now. Like we can't just
yes,
just
like
swap each
legally
other out,
we are bound
like,
together. We are bound legally, but happy anniversary to my husband, Gary.
Yes,
I love you
happy
very much.
anniversary. I love y'all
Yes.
so much.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Peace.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. Charles, hold down the fort, my buddy.
I got you. Later.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.